Hi, it's Om again. And in yesterday's vlog, we went a little deep on boredom, but today we're going to be talking about temptation. I told y'all that boredom is just a failure of the will trying to find meaning in something. But however, I didn't mention the fact that boredom is also the scout to the clear path for temptation, meaning boredom leads to temptation. That is likely why you are more tempted to do a bad habit when you have nothing to do rather than doing your bad habits when you're occupied. When you let the mind stay idle, the internal you goes on a break. That is when the autopilot of your own habits start kicking in. So let's say you made a goal to quit drinking. The prefrontal cortex knows that you want to quit, but your friend Bob hits you with some motion of his own and he says, let's go out and grab some drinks and enjoy the weather. However, you already decided that you don't want to drink. But so you tell Bob, hey, I don't want to drink today. Bob says, come on, pull up for the weather at least. And that is what we call like lowballing or having one foot in the door, basically. You agree with Bob, and however, you go out and enjoy the weather. This essentially will lower your guard for the bigger question Bob will ask later, which is maybe a drink or something. So like now, imagine yourself, you're kicked up outside, you're with Bob. You're in the environment where you can fall back into that bad habit. You're in that environment basically. Your prefrontal cortex has already made a vow to quit drinking, but it is now in that losing battle because you're with Bob in that environment. But the sun is out and Bob is drinking. He offers you the beer now, all right? The brain will start rationalizing and says, one beer will not hurt. That is the ventral striatum looking for the easiest path to dopamine. But let's talk about the science of that interaction basically. Temptation isn't necessarily a test from anyone or anything. It is just a pre-programmed biological reflex. Also a cue-induced craving basically. So hypothetically, let's just say you goon every day, all right? And now you stop. Specific things in your room that you don't notice or certain like sounds can cause a cue-induced craving. So just by being in that environment, and like even if you're not thinking about it, like certain people or certain things in your room could cause that trigger, which would be a cue basically. But when you notice the cue, your ventral striatum starts stressing. There's physical tension in your chest that screams for you to act on that cue. So don't feel bad about having temptations. That's just like an echo of someone who you used to be. You don't want to feel bad about being tempted. That's just a normal, natural thing. But not all temptations needed to be acted upon. So now imagine yourself riding like this big chariot, this magnificent, glorious chariot, and you have horses that you're in control of. However, these horses, they smell like a strong scent of mud and decide to just start bolting and running because that's what horses do. Mud, run, all right? If you let the horses be in control, then they will only take you through that dirt. And that's gonna happen every single time when the horses are in control. So let's talk about this from a human perspective, all right? The chariot is like our body, and the horses are like our five senses. And the driver of this glorious chariot is our mind. But when we let our senses take control of the body, we usually end up doing things that are only pleasurable to the five senses. So to be aware, we have to stop falling asleep on the chariot. We have to pull the reins back a little bit on these horses and take control. All right? We have to acknowledge that our mind is higher than these five senses. But that's the analogy of temptation to y'all today, all right? And we made it to day 3, and the environment at my college has not changed. The people around me have not changed. But one thing I do know is I'm slowly changing into the person I always wanted to be. So I haven't relapsed. I haven't really done anything bad. I'm using this new method called urge surfing though. Urge surfing is basically like just think about it like this. It's a craving, and if you think about this craving as like a wave will peak and then eventually just pass. So if you can just ride the wave out rather to fight against the wave and you work with the wave, then you could just ride it out. So yeah. And that was today's vlog. Thank you all for watching today, and make sure y'all leave a comment and stay tuned for the next one. Like, subscribe, and share. We're gonna continue 365.